So welcome to the panel From Meme to Machines, Prediction Market at the Age of Culture and Crypto.
Hey guys, I work at Kalshi and I'm excited to bring us on.
I'm the co-founder of Euphoria. We are a trading app on Mega Eats.
Hey guys, I'm Farokh, co-founder of Dastan, which is the parent company of Rug Radio, Decrypt Media, and now Myriad Markets.
Hey everyone, I'm Noturhandle. I'm one of the co-founders of Buttergg, and we're building conditional prediction markets and Futaki.
Awesome. Happy to see all of you guys here. So let's dive into this. So while we're talking about memes and, prediction markets, basically, I think one of the main questions about prediction market is whether the wisdom of the crowd real. Like, is it like, what do you think? Do you think it makes sense, or do you think it just, something to be debunked? Anyone want to take this?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's kind of two sides to this. I don't think that there's necessarily a wisdom of the crowd. Otherwise, people wouldn't pay billions and billions of dollars for data to counter trade the crowd every year. But I will say that there's kind of like a collective of the crowd that becomes the truth at a certain point when, you can convince enough people to do something, it inherently becomes the wisdom of the crowd. So I think there's kind of like two sides to it, whether it be prediction markets or trading.
Yeah, I think I like to answer this question with like a kind of a 2x2. I think that information is clearly distributed across the world, right? I think there's like information on some topics is widely distributed. Everybody has a small piece of it. And some things are concentrated in just a few people, right? Experts. And prediction markets are pretty awesome in both contexts. That's why they're such a good information aggregation mechanism. They're great. They'll just pull information from anyone. They're basically real-time pricing information. You can just turn up and sell your information to this market. I think one of the other things that it's also good at doing is when information's either like complementary, so like everybody knows something that kind of improves the value of information, or it's like substitute. So it's like you can take the same information and everybody can just kind of keep confirming it. And again, markets work really well in this context as well. So I think the real like crazy thing about prediction markets is they're just a great general purpose information aggregation mechanism. I think they just work pretty well in every context. So I believe wisdom of the crowds is almost the best way of describing the way the world works.
I'm not sure I have anything to add on top of what you said. I kind of seem to agree with what's already said.
Maybe just a quick thing to add. I think, in politics especially, like you have people who have vested interest in particular topics, pundits who have sort of biased takes. Whereas like with prediction markets, I would more so view it as like putting skin in the game reveals people's genuine beliefs. And so the wisdom of the crowd is revealed through this like just like incentive-based mechanism.
Yeah. Well, I mean, talking about the like a bit like politics, right? I actually want to touch on the topic of Futaki a little bit. So basically, there are two kind of competing ideas, right, between like prediction and persuasion. So how the politics works like nowadays is that you have politicians that's like representing different segment of the society, and let's say the next policy is going to get decided not 100% by facts, but also by persuasion, lobbying, and so on and so forth. I actually want to ask, Noturhandle, what do you think about this? Like, does like Futaki actually works in such a chaotic world, right? Because the reason politicians exist, that we do not vote on the next policy based on numbers alone. Like, hey, this is the number of GDP. Everybody is so logical and vote on the right path. But we are relying on lobbying. Like, how does this work in the real world? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think functionally Futaki pretty much already works. MetaDAO have been running now for 2 years on Solana, doing running Futakis. So they functionally work. But I think the question is about whether they can like socially work. Like socially, will we ever accept them? And I think this is like a really, really hard question to answer. I don't think it has anything to do with like logic, actually. I don't think we can just build better tools and then suddenly Futaki will work. I think it mostly comes down to whether the people in charge want to accept prediction markets. And so I think that prediction markets have to be incredibly persuasive before anyone will accept them. Because like, as you said, like politicians run the political system. They decide what things happen. They also decide whether we'll use markets to predict what the output of a particular policy is going to be. And so I think that's the point. I think we need to just build better prediction markets that work really well, that pull more people in, and they become so persuasive that eventually people believe they can rely on them for things like policy.
They're probably gonna accept when it works in their favor, is it?
Yeah, so this is the thing about like social systems, right? Like elites will only accept something if it works for them. The only other option is they get overthrown. So yeah.
Interesting. Anyone else wanna like jam on this? No? All right. Okay, so next topic. So we're gonna go like a bit dark mode right now. So basically, the question would be like, basically, so prediction markets, like we have, right now, like sports is one of the biggest, right? And also memes and, price and so on. So this is fine. But there are also prediction markets, which is, I think Amit was talking about the assassin market, but he was talking in like a conceptual term. But actually, there was this in the dark web in 2013, there was an actual assassin market, right? So we're going to go a bit controversial here. So basically, he was setting up like some sort of the pool. It's crowdfunded BTC, saying that which head of country going to get assassinated, and people basically pooling money in there. For example, Barack Obama, I think he has about 35 BTC there, basically, that people predicting that he is going to get assassinated on the certain date. And of course that guy like lost the money, right? So in something that is so controversial like this, that is not just pricings and memes, for this type of topic, like what do you think? Like is it morally okay? Is it okay to have freedom of speech? You express in whatever way, or do you think it's not okay? Farokh, you want to go?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And it is dark mode indeed. I think, we're definitely not running Assassin's Market here at Myriad. I don't think any of you guys are doing that either. We've actually talked about this at the team. It's like, for example, the whole Charlie Kirk, assassination times, like, are you going to run a market on this? And we decided to say not to, right? And I'm sure some other prediction markets may, and I don't blame it either. I think like as a crypto participant, none of us are here to stand a moral high ground. I think it's always like ironic when someone in crypto is like, oh, I have better morals than you do. However, I do think that as founders of prediction market platforms, it's also on us to kind of like, be a little careful in the markets that we push out to people, because people are crazy out there, right? There's a lot of crazy people that are willing to do a lot of crazy things for a little bit of money. All right. And really not much actually. And so I come obviously from more of a media background, as one of the, co-founders of Rug Radio and now owners of the Crypt Media. And so we're also very careful in the kind of like media that we publish. Right. And so I think we take that approach to our markets as well, trying not to have any dark pools, etc. Even if we don't even push dark pools and go, oh, we're not going to have any fee or revenue on it. We just don't want to have dark pools on our platforms because God forbid something happens and then it affects the entire industry. So I think like obviously don't want to take more high ground, but also kind of like don't want to really push the limits of prediction markets that route.
What if one day you launch like, create your own market sort of thing, right? And then like people create some weird market, like dark markets. And then like, let's say you cancel them and it was like, oh no, say no to like censorship. What are you going to do?
Yeah, well, I think in crypto, like we love to throw the word like censorship and decentralization and everything, but I think there's a moment where like moderation has to come into play. So we're not anywhere close, I think. Well, we're gonna get closer to like self-started markets, though liquidity and stuff we can talk about this another time. But I do think like moderation comes in handy, right? I think even the best example is Pump Fund streams, right? There was some crazy shit going on there for a moment, and Pump Fund had to be like, hey guys, like I know y'all want anti-censorship out of crypto, but I do think we have to draw a certain line in this industry when it comes to crazy stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like I just like I'm on the fence of like people who said like, freedom 100%, because I believe like we live in the world, right? In the same world, and then we all like have different opinions and so on and so forth. So then I think this thing, it shouldn't exist, right? If it's too extreme. Yeah, like anyone else wanna?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I think that humans will do what you allow them to do, right? So, like, on Pump Fun, it gets worse and worse and worse. And then until you stop that or until there's some kind of intervention, like, sure, it starts with, like, a dildo on a basketball court that somebody's betting on. And, like, they don't care if they get arrested because they're going to make more from the prediction. But, like, this started with, like, streaking and at the Super Bowls and things like that. But when we stop having markets for these things, when we stop incentivizing these things, they happen less and less. It doesn't mean they don't happen, but they happen less. And so it's like, if these are the things that we don't want to see on our platforms, then yeah, like there are lines that you have to draw at a certain point to where like humans will inherently continue to push the boundaries of what's possible, and they're going to keep doing it. I mean, like, yeah, eventually there's, people locked in cages on Pump Fun, and there's like actual deaths that are happening and things like that. And so they saw like, this is not what we want for this platform. And so, we want to incentivize people to create viral content and do fun things like that. It's not like this. And so I don't think that we can trust people.
I just want to add one thing as well. Like, assassination markets exist whether or not we build prediction markets for them. And also financial markets contain the same incentives. So I think that like ultimately it's like it's kind of like a curation that we can decide to bring those into our platform. They're not necessarily a problem that we uniquely face.
No, that's true. All right, so we move on to the next one. So let's talk a little bit about AI. Basically, I think that AI generally in the very near future is going to be better than human, in terms of prediction, right? We even have the stats, I think, in year like 2024, that like the AI analyst is actually making so much better, like, let's say prediction in terms of like stock price, like 54.5% better than human analyst. So the question would be, if one day, AI makes better prediction than human, do we need human predictor anymore?
I think what's cool with AI is we're already seeing a bunch of like AI agents trading on prediction. It's on all our platforms. There's probably AI agents using them. I think there's like 2 or 3 that I've launched on Myriad alone, and I do a lot of volume. It's awesome. And so we actually encourage people to, but I think you guys, there's some in the crowd, right, building on top of us. I think there's like the Predict team, the Contracts team, a few other ones that are already doing it. Bunch has also built one that's really cool. And so I don't know if AI is going to have an edge on humans. I don't know if that's a hot take. I personally don't know if they will. I do think humans will always get, like, prediction markets also sometimes get, some people have information that others don't, right? You just kind of talk about that. So I don't think the AI is going to be prone to receiving any insider information, right? So there's always going to have that edge. I'm not pushing that behavior. I'm just saying there's always going to be an edge against AI for insider information. First and foremost, that people can tail, by the way, which is the beautiful thing about prediction markets. And the second thing is people will be able to use the AI anyways to predict. And so the AI will never also be able to predict the unpredictable. So like Mayor Adams, that's just happened, is not, getting out of the race, but all of a sudden is getting out of the race. Like, I don't know if an AI can actually predict that. An AI, for example, couldn't have predicted that Carlos Alcaraz was going to come back on Yannick Sinner when he had 3 match balls at like Roland Garros, right? So I just don't know if AI is going to actually overcome the human in that sense, but maybe I'm being, overly bullish on humans.
I 100% agree with Farokh about, like, especially on the humans using AI, like to augment their abilities. So I've had a lot of interesting discussions with like top prediction market traders, including large ones on Kalshi. And one really interesting like user flow that they told me about was they have like this script that ingests a ton of data, and AI is like really great at like synthesizing millions of data points. And then they have like this real-time news feed that taps into like local news sources and has like a sentiment check on like all the different news things that come in. And then they would, check like the Kalshi price, check like how bad is, like, for example, if it's like some political event, like how bad is the sentiment here? And then they might execute like a hedge or like a leveraged short on hyperliquid. And so I think using AI to augment human abilities, and maybe like with the advantages of like being able to ingest a ton of data points and execute trades automatically across like different instruments, is something that's already happening today.
Yeah, I think too that humans create irrational markets. So as long as there are humans in the market, like the markets will never be fully predictable. And so I think that that's like another key point here, is that like humans create these discrepancies in the market. Not so much on prediction markets, but there's data in, platforms like Robinhood that when the platforms go down and retail cannot access those markets, the quality of the stock market actually declines when Robinhood is down. And so like humans, these are things that AI can't predict. These are things that irrational actors can only do, and humans are irrational actors in these markets.
and just because I want to add to everyone got to speak. AIs will beat humans on predictions 100%. They're going to be able to forecast way better than us, integrate way more information. But I think I agree with your point. Private information. Even right now, we're all generating new data that AIs have no access to. There's going to be no way they'll have access to that, and we're doing it real time all the time. That's our edge, and I think we'll have it forever as long as AIs never get in our brains. So resist. Resist. Yes.
Yeah. So to me, I'm actually super afraid that we will be made redundant soon, right? But I think the more important point is actually the motivation, right? So if profit is the only thing or the main thing of prediction markets, like participating in this at all, so obviously it doesn't make sense economically, to use human analysts. If you just want to make money and AI makes better, why doing so, right? But I think if it's if it's become like a form of expression, entertainment, you kind of having fun, right? I think this is actually it will stay, right? It's also people were saying in the age of, AGI, those career path that is related to making craftsmanship and so on, obviously it's going to stay, right? Because it's part of the joy, part of the culture and so on. So yeah, so coming to the last questions, I want to know what do you guys think that is the next big thing in prediction market? Obviously everyone here, it's the top minds of the space. So just want to hear short remarks. What do you think is the next thing, next big thing?
Yeah, I think your Kalshi started in 2018, Polymarket started in 2020, and so both teams have been at the game for a very, very long time, 5 to 7 years. And so I think the next sort of opportunity set for prediction markets definitely comes in new mechanism designs, permissionless markets, or fitting with different communities and targeting different user sets. But honestly, it may play out similar to how Pump Fund and Hyperliquid played out, where the largest business opportunities maybe isn't to build another launchpad, but is to pursue what Axiom, BonkBot, Photon did, building terminals and targeting users on top of the existing prediction market platforms. And those are all excellent businesses.
Yeah, I agree. I think that a lot of it, I would say, would be UX. I think that it's creating fun front ends for prediction markets. I think that it's creating real-time markets where you can interact with live odds changing. And so I'll pass it up.
I think one of the things that I've loved the most seeing this week is what she's building. So, so I have to say,
totally.
Gamification of prediction market app that they have. By the way, I saw that the new iteration is sick. Sorry, I'm supposed to show my own stuff. So what you guys are doing is awesome. What you're doing with Robin is obviously super cool. I think for us, I think the future is embedding Myriad as a protocol. So prediction markets at a protocol layer in everywhere we can. So the MoonPay route, right? MoonPay got big because they started embedding this crypto on-ramp, off-ramp everywhere they could. And that's our goal, right? So the day you see prediction markets odds live on national television, on CNBC, on Fox, in the Washington Post while you're reading it, I think that's where we're headed. So I know you talk about perps a lot. I love that. The way you talk about the apps, and I think what we're doing with getting our prediction markets into the faces and hands of everyone, and it's seamless. That's where prediction markets are going to go.
And I believe that event contracts, which underlie prediction markets, are the fundamental component of structured finance. And I think we've just nailed it. We've just got the form factor right. So I think we're about to see a complete explosion in terms of all the things we can build. I think options are coming on chain in a way that they've never before. I think the same thing for perps. Perps are going to get remade. We saw the HIP 4 event parlays. I think that's what's coming soon. I think it's going to be incredible.
And remember, we're not a meta. We're an asset class.
Mm-hmm. We are asset class, guys. All right. So thank you, everybody. This is a great panel. So yeah.